Have you ever wondered how to plan comprehensible input type activities when you're using a textbook? Maybe you are tied to a district assessment, but you want to use CI strategies and you're just not sure how the two can combine. Maybe you're part of a department, but you want to use comprehensible input to support your students' language acquisition, and you're not sure how to do that when your department isn't 100% on board. Sound familiar? Let's talk about it in this video. My name is Ashley, aka Senior to Spanish, where I provide easy to use resources to save you time and energy while you're lesson planning. If you're new here, I want to make sure that you know that links to everything I mentioned in this video will be down in the description box below. Also, if you haven't, maybe click subscribe so you can see more videos like this in the future. So just so you know where I'm coming from with this, I have only ever taught as part of a large department. We have had different curriculums required to use and all of that sort of stuff. But when I first heard about comprehensible input, I really wanted to figure out how we could kind of combine the two things, like the things that I needed to do and the things that I wanted to try out. I know everyone's situation is a little bit different, so I'm just gonna give you a few examples and share my own experience and things that have worked for me and things that I don't recommend trying, just to save you time and, pain. So where do we even start? Well, like anything else with teaching, it makes sense to start with the end in mind. So if you are required to use district assessments, and that is like a good chunk of your students' grades, that's where I would start. Do you have a list of specific learning targets that your students are required to hit? Make sure you're aware of those. Grab them, okay? We're gonna start compiling the things that we need. Basically, what you need to do is create a specific list of what your students need to be able to do to be successful in your district specifically, right? Not just as language learners as a whole, not even necessarily state standards, although if your district assessments are tied to your state standards, those are a good thing to also bring in. But basically what you wanna do is come up with a list of things that you need to make sure your students are capable of by the end of, well, we'll get to that. So you have your list of things your students need to be able to do. The next thing that you need to look at is what your timeline is like. And again, this is going to be different for everyone. So when I say your timeline, I really mean how long do you have between district assessments? Is this a semester exam? Is this something that happens quarterly? Are your chapter assessments the same and you give those every 2 weeks? That's what I mean by what is your timeline. Do you have a full semester? Do you have a full year to work with them? Whatever it is, your time frame is going to affect your approach when it comes to combining these two kinds of methods. So if your timeline is a shorter window, like if you have 2 weeks between when you start a chapter and when you're going to give a district assessment and you want to use comprehensible input methods, it's going to be a little bit tricky because it's going to be harder to find resources that are a perfect fit for what you need. I like to write short stories for the vocab and grammar that go with each of those chapters, and then we use those for storytelling, story asking, and different reading activities throughout the 2-week units. I have a blog post where I've shared a whole bunch of those stories. If you wanted to get a better look, I'll make sure to link that for you in the description box down below this video. So let's talk about a sample timeline when you're looking at that shorter time frame of 2 weeks. Something I have done in the past is to spend 3 to 4 days on storytelling or story asking, and then spend 1 to 2 days on reading and reading activities of either that story or a variation of that story. Then we usually have a vocab quiz, and that's often a district vocab quiz that they're required to take. And then we spend some time on grammar practice, and this depends on the chapter. Sometimes we do stations, quadri en círculos, sometimes it's just scrambled sentences. It really depends on what the grammar is and how well they were able to grasp it from the story that we built that grammar into. I have a few videos where I explain some of the things that I just mentioned, and really it just depends, right? If you have a longer window of time, it's gonna be a little bit different. I would still begin with that end in mind. Make a big list of all of the things that your students are required to show that they are able to do as per the end of semester exams or whatever it is. Then consider what routines can you build into place to help you hit those targets. I've talked about routines a lot, and I have a whole video where I explain the ones that I prefer to use, but some that I might recommend would be Música Miércoles from Mis Clases Locas, Persona Especial from Bryce Hedstrom, Weekend Chat, Movie Talk, and Picture Talk. And like I said, I go into all of those in this video, but those are things that you can do over and over and over again to really reinforce different chunks of language that your students might need to know in a way that's not like, this is the language you need to know. Make sure that you're revisiting that master list of targets often, because you don't want to accidentally get to like 2 weeks before the exam and realize, oh, I didn't cover this, or we didn't build this in. One of my favorite things to make sure that I do pretty regularly, like almost every chapter is a gallery walk. A gallery walk is a great way to give your students a ton of input in a really low stress way and a way that's really not very much prep for you. I have a whole bunch of gallery walks that I've already created that have printable and digital options that you can check out at the link below. I know this can be something that's really difficult to handle and to figure out how to balance delivering comprehensible input to your students while working with the textbook. Remember, you don't have to start from scratch. You don't have to throw out everything that you've been doing, and it's okay. You can kind of balance these two things as you're starting to kind of dip your toes into delivering more CI to your students. If you have any questions about it, you can drop me a comment down below. I would love to hear from you. Where are you at in using CI in your classes? Are you really focused on delivering comprehensible input? Are you just kind of starting to try storytelling and story asking? Or maybe you've tried some other activities and methods to deliver CI to your students? Wherever you're at, I just want to hear about it. Can you drop me a comment down below and let me know? All right? If you haven't yet, make sure you click that subscribe button and ring that bell so you get notified of all new content I create for you in the future. Otherwise, I'll just see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.